My name is Paul A. Pavlou, and I serve as Dean of the Miami Herbert Business School. We have a great pleasure this evening to welcome Robert Sanchez. He's the CEO and Chairman of the Board of Ryder. Some of the questions I'm going to have about what does Ryder do, and so that will be a question coming, so I'm giving you an easy answer. But that's quite a few things from transportation, supply chain, trucks, and increasingly electronic commerce, and many other things that Robert will be talking about here. So he's been a CEO for the last 11 years, and I have a question because he's been at Ryder for 31 years, and he had like 17 jobs before, so that until they made him CEO, so he can actually stay in one position, right? That was the reason?
Found one that I could do.
That was a joke, but I have a question on that as well. Okay. So, Robert has been, a great supporter of the business community in Miami, a Miami native, for many years, and actually he got an undergraduate degree from here, the University of Miami, not the business school, but the engineering school. He's a fellow electrical engineer, as I am. He didn't go to Miami Herbert. He went to like a lesser school at the Wharton School in Philadelphia. So, we all make mistakes in life. But despite that, and because of his engineering degree from the University of Miami, he made it all the way to the top of Ryder. On a more serious note, he's on the board of directors of several companies, including Texas Instruments, United Way, and several others non-for-profit organizations. So we're actually very delighted to welcome Robert here. He also has been serving as on the board of trustees of the University of Miami on the executive committee. So we're delighted to have such a wonderful alum, very successful person in the community to talk about his career and every amazing thing he has done. With that, I'd like to congratulate and welcome Robert for everything he has done. And we have a short video from Ryder that I'm going to play here. So that will be an easy question. Okay.
Head out of the way here.
All right.
When you were young, did you ever wonder where the toys you played with came from? How food got into your refrigerator? Computers on your desk? Cars in your driveway? Packages on your doorstep? Sure, they were ordered online or came from a store. But what did it take to get them there? What if we told you it began with a man, a truck, and a dream? A dream to be innovative by using the most sophisticated technology to build the solutions of tomorrow, today. A dream to build smarter warehouses where people and automated technology work together to engineer more efficient supply chains. A dream to deliver flexibility, capacity, and resilience through transportation logistics solutions built on the nation's most reliable fleet of vehicles, professional drivers, and expert technicians. A dream to deliver trusted solutions for companies so they can focus on their core business. At Ryder, what began with a man, a truck, and a dream has become the only fully integrated end-to-end supply chain and transportation logistics company in the industry. Sure, we started as a truck rental company. Today, we have grown into a Fortune 500 company, and our customers continue to grow with us. So the cereal you ate this morning, the shoes on your feet, the online order delivered to your door, the television you watched. Chances are, those were either assembled, packaged, fulfilled, or delivered through the Ryder supply chain and transportation network. We enjoy working behind the scenes because it's never really been about a man, his truck, and his dream. It's always been about businesses big and small and making their dreams come true.
That video makes all our employees cry.
All right, that was a very nice video. So now we know what Ryder does. So it was about fleet management, and from one track we got to these amazing numbers. So please tell, at least especially some of the students here, kind of the broader idea of like, what is supply chain? How can we get like a 2-day delivery in most of the country? And that's probably what Amazon started a few years back in electronic commerce, and the 100% visibility. So please tell us about, guide us through that, like how 100 years ago started from one track and one person, a dream, to what Ryder has become a Fortune 350 company as we speak.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to be here. And before we talk about Ryder, I wanted to talk about the Canes football team. I mean, I have been a Canes fan since I got to the school here 41 years ago. And I was here during the glory days, 1983 to 1987. 2 national championships. Haven't missed a game, I think, in 41 years. I am so much happier this year than I have been. Yesterday, our stock hit an all-time high, which as a publicly traded company, that's a big deal. And that made me happy. But Cam Ward makes me even happier. My life is just happier because this team is doing so well. So I'm really excited, 9-0. I'm really psyched about the rest of the season, and let's see how far we can go. But it's a great time to be a Hurricane. Go Canes. Go Canes.
Okay.
All right, so anyway, Ryder.
Ryder, okay. We can talk about football if you like.
Yeah, well, I found out that this is our good luck charm. He hasn't missed a game yet. But he's not going to Atlanta game, so if we lose...
Unless Ryder can actually get me on one of the tracks.
Maybe I can take you there. Anyway, all kidding aside, Ryder, look, we've been around for 90 plus years. It's kind of like it's a little bit of a hidden secret here in Miami. Ryder is one of the few Fortune 500 companies that is not only headquartered here now, we've been headquartered here for 90 years. Our business has, over the years, been through a lot of different phases. We were a conglomerate in the 80s where we were in the aircraft leasing business. We owned Travel Centers of America. We were the largest school bus company in the country. We owned an oil refinery. We had aircraft engine overhaul business. So we had gotten into a lot of different business like many companies did. And after building up these businesses, we realized we're not very good at managing most of them. So we said, let's get rid of all of them and let's just stick to the ones that we think we could do good things in. So we stuck to 3 businesses. This fleet management business, which is basically truck rental and truck leasing. Those trucks that everybody knows us for. I don't know, maybe you are old enough to remember the yellow trucks. So Ryder rents trucks. That was an ad in 1972 that everybody still remembers. And it played during the Super Bowl in 72. Ryder, and it ended with Ryder rents trucks, and people just remember Ryder rents trucks. So
how much is Super Bowl at in 19?
Back then, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I don't know, but it's definitely a lot less than it is now.
Yes, it's 7 million now. So.
Yes. So that fleet management business is the truck rental business. The difference now is that we don't rent trucks to consumers. We're not in the U-Haul business anymore. We just rent to companies. So we have a fleet of 250,000 commercial trucks. Those are the big 18-wheelers and the dry van trucks that you see driving around. Most of those trucks don't say Ryder on them. They have our customer's logo on them, and they have a little sticker in the front that says Ryder. And then we use the rental trucks, the ones that say Ryder, to supplement those fleets. So if you needed a truck for just a couple months, you lease a fleet from us, and then you rent when you need them for those days. So that today used to be 80% of the business. Now that's only 40% of the business. The rest of the business is more what we call supply chain logistics. So that is a combination of providing trucks and drivers. So to give you an example, a company that leases a fleet of trucks from us, and that fleet management is Domino's. You see a Domino's truck driving around, it says Domino's. That truck is owned and maintained by Ryder. Dedicated is where it's not just the truck, but it's the truck and the driver. So Ryder performs like a private fleet for a customer. CVS. If you see a CVS truck pulling into a CVS store here in Miami, that is a Ryder truck with a Ryder driver doing that part of that business. We have 13,000 truck drivers who work for Ryder doing that type of business for us. And then the third part is broader supply chain services. So that's where we run not just a truck, a driver. but we run warehouses. We have over 350 big distribution centers around North America that we run for customers. We do transportation networks, so we could act as a traffic department for the company, where we're managing not just Ryder trucks, but trucks from a lot of different companies. We got $10 billion worth of freight that we run that way. And then we also have engineering services that we can come in and design supply chains for our customers. We also have a final mile e-commerce delivery business that we started, or we bought several years ago, so we can do final mile e-commerce. You had a product that you want to sell. You don't want to sell it through Amazon because Amazon is eventually going to suck your idea. You come to Ryder, and we'll actually provide all the physical e-fulfillment services that you need to do that off of your own website. But an example of what we do there is General Motors. We're the lead logistics provider for General Motors. That means that every car that General Motors makes in the US, Ryder is responsible for getting all the parts that are going to go on that car from all their suppliers all the way to the assembly line. So we have engineers that manage that. It's a fairly large project, but we do that we do similar stuff for Toyota, for Tesla, even though we're not allowed to tell anybody. So don't tell anybody. But we do it for a lot of different companies. Hewlett-Packard is a big customer of ours. So mostly large Fortune 500 type companies that we use those services. Our leasing business is more small to mid-sized companies who just need a fleet of trucks to deliver their products. So total 50,000 customers that we have, 53,000 employees. We're about $13 billion of revenue as a company. And now have really shifted that business from being mostly trucks to now mostly services over the last several years. So back to your question of how do we go from trucks to that? It takes a long time, and it takes businesses having to learn new skills, either through acquisition or I hate to say it, trial and error. Okay. You get an account, you kind of hope it works out. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't, but over that time you learn. And over a few decades, we've learned quite a bit about logistics and how it works. For those of you who don't know what supply chain management is, it's basically the everything that goes with coordinating the production, distribution, and delivery of products from their source all the way to consumption. So it's been kind of great for Ryder. COVID was great for Ryder in a lot of ways because it put a spotlight on supply chain activity. Yes, yeah. And my neighbors, nobody knew what supply chain was. And the minute that you couldn't find toilet paper, everybody knew what supply chain was. And they wanted to know where in the supply chain is what I'm looking for. So that was really good for Ryder because it gave us an opportunity to sell our services and get involved in a lot of different things. And a supply chain is basically, it is from the vantage point that we have at Ryder, you realize how amazing supply chains are and how, whether it's your cell phone, everything that goes into getting parts from all over the world to this one place where it gets assembled and then shipped across the world to whoever's going to take it. That's true for everything. It's true for any product that you buy. And it's all extremely well coordinated, not with a master plan, but over time it just evolves. And everybody knows whether you're in Vietnam or China and the product is going to be sold here, everybody across the world knows what they need to do in order to get their component to the right place and then brought across the ocean to be sold here. It all kind of works until something doesn't work. And during COVID, a lot of things didn't work, and that's why everybody got focused on supply chains.
So how specialized do you get? For example, there are like specialty chemicals, like energy. There is different type of more complex, medical equipment and so forth. How easy is for you to use your existing infrastructure or that you have, and say somebody says you want to have this very specialty chemicals. Is it possible for you to do that? What kind of infrastructure or development do you need to do for a new customer who wants something very specialized?
Right. So no, we can't do everything for everybody.
Yes, exactly.
So we're organized by industry verticals. So
okay.
We have automotive is about a quarter of our supply chain business. Consumer packaged goods. I think about food type companies, ConAgra, Kellogg's, those types of. We run operations for them. We have a retail business where we do more retail type customers, and then we have an industrials business where Think about a company like Carrier Air Conditionings. We do logistics for them. If it's a new, like we don't have a chemicals.
Exactly.
So it's very hard for us to say, all of a sudden now we're going to be experts in chemicals.
Yes,
If we wanted to get into chemicals, we'd probably go out and try to find a company that's already in chemicals and acquire them and bring them into the fold of Ryder.
I see. Okay. No, because basically that's kind of moving into one vertical to another requires some more expertise, and so you're doing it through acquisitions.
You really, it's very, like we were able to go from automotive to industrial because the supply chains aren't that different. You know, it's kind of the assembly of stuff. But when the supply chain becomes different, like in food, we had tried to get into food logistics. We didn't have a food customer, so you go try to sell to Kellogg's, and they want to see a customer. You take them to General Motors. And they're like, well, what's this about? Yeah. So we bought a company probably like 13, 14 years ago where they're focused on food logistics. And we became a big part of our business. We were able to grow it and now have an expertise in that area.
Excellent, yes. So you mentioned the COVID times, and of course kind of the supply chain disruptions made transportation, logistics, supply chain very famous. So now it's kind of getting into the more of a kind of steadier state, and how do you see the future of supply chains?
Yeah, so our business for a long time had been just about efficiencies inside of a warehouse, or we'd go in and we had a customer who has a private fleet. They might have 80 trucks. We go in there, we redesign it. We can do it with 70, and we know how to hire truck drivers. We have a big driver pool, so we're able to do it more efficiently than a company can do on their own. That's still important, but what's changed over the last several years is really the focus on technology. Yeah. And we had historically used technology we buy off the shelf, run a warehouse, to run transportation networks. But more and more what we've realized is that technology now has to become a differentiator, something that's going to differentiate us from what a competitor can do. So we've gotten much more into building our own software, not for everything. I don't need to build software to run a warehouse, but I need to build software to give my customer visibility as to what is going on with their supply chain. So we've been making a lot more investments in those areas. I mentioned to you earlier, we acquired a startup in Silicon Valley of a group of 5. I say we bought 5 guys, because we bought 5 people who were engineers from Stanford, MIT, and they were writing some software to optimize transportation for trucking companies. So to find ways to utilize everything inside the truck. And we really invested in them through our venture capital fund. We thought smart people, wasn't sure that problem they were trying to solve, that was going to really solve it, but we felt these guys can really help us at Ryder with all the freight we have visibility to and all these customers. So we bought that company, and now they're our technology lab, and they're writing software for us. And an example of what they'll do is, you think about CVS, those deliveries. Well, at some point, that CVS truck's going to be empty. And historically, I've just driven it empty. And if I can find a load, it's great, but I don't have a technology to help me coordinate all that. So now with this technology, if that truck's going to go back to Orlando empty, I can see what True Value or many of our other customers that may be moving product, looking to move product from Miami to Orlando, how can I double utilize that driver and double utilize that equipment? So it's software that's helping facilitate that optimization across our accounts.
Excellent, yeah. That's what Uber does as well.
That's what Uber does. That's what Uber does.
So one question talking about technology and your emphasis on technology. So how do you see your future of your trucks? Assuming tomorrow or in 10 years we're going to have driverless trucks, right. How is it going to change your business?
A lot. So we have focused on what we call the Tesla effect, which is the electric autonomous vehicle. We have the Uber effect, which is the sharing of trucks and space, yes. And then the Amazon effect, which is the whole e-commerce side. Those 3 things are really big disruptors for our business. So on the electric side, I think the electric heavy-duty truck is probably a ways away, unless Tesla were to come up with one, which they're the only ones that have something that might get there. But we're preparing for it. We're testing it across a lot of different operations with each of the OEMs. We're in the mix of trying to figure out how do I find the right one and the right partner And when I find the right partner, I have access to 50,000 customers, so I can get into a lot of fleets really quickly. So we want to be, over time, the facilitator of that energy transition in trucking.
Yes.
It's just hasn't gotten there yet. Autonomous, the same thing.
Yes.
We've partnered with every autonomous startup that you can imagine.
Exactly, yes.
To figure out who's going to get there. If you asked me 5 years ago when we were going to get to a full autonomy, I would have told you 5 years, and today I'm going to tell you another 5 years. It's close, but it doesn't seem to be able to get all the way there.
Yeah. I mean, that would be transformational for you. I mean, you guys have 50,000 drivers.
No, we have 13,000.
13,000. That's a very
But
big fleet of people.
It is, but there's a driver shortage in the United States.
That's right, yes.
So I'm pretty confident we're going to have jobs for the drivers, for all the drivers that are out there, because the final mile deliveries are still going to have to be done with a driver.
Okay.
The autonomous truck's not going to unload and
That's true, yes.
at CVS and bring it into the store. So it's going to be a hub and spoke. So I think it's an opportunity for us Ryder's a company that could own an autonomous truck network and really operate it for our customers. So that's where we're trying to position ourselves.
Absolutely, yeah. So talking about like technology, AI, where do you see kind of any like other disruptions in the industry? Like where do you see, like you invest in technology, startups, where do you see like things kind of, either radically or kind of somewhat changing the industry in the next 5-10 years?
So for us, we like with every technology, everybody kind of jumps in, all right, we got AI, we got to do AI. And I was telling the dean that you have to put AI in all your press releases so that people buy your stock. If they see AI, somehow that's, but all kidding aside, there are real applications for it. And I think at our company, there's applications that you could get in back office stuff, right? So things you would get from SAP or Workday, we're going to do those. But really core to what we do, I think there's two major areas. One is maintenance, truck maintenance. So we maintain 250,000 trucks. We spend $1.4 billion on maintenance of trucks a year. If I can save a little bit of maintenance, it's a lot of money. So one of the areas is an AI technician assistant.
Okay.
That truck pulls in, it's got a problem. I have 5,000 technicians who are all trying to figure out what it is. We standardized it, but still, there's a lot of human intervention required. An AI tech that would be there side by side with the tech who would look at the problem and give the technician what has been used across all of Ryder. We have data on every maintenance, every vehicle we've ever touched. We have information on it. So we're trying to leverage that data because the value of AI, my understanding has to do with the data that you have. So that's a big important component of data we have. And the other one is transportation. Yeah. Is we move a lot of stuff for a lot of companies across North America. So finding more ways to optimize that movement is another important area.
Yes. And that's where data science, AI can play a big role. So that's great. So last question before we get to you personally. Mm-hmm. So where do you see the future of supply chain? So some of the students here, should they focus on supply chain, like supply chain management, supply chain technology? We're also thinking of having a master's degree here on supply chain. Where do you see the future? Post-COVID was the hottest degree to have. Now it has slowed down a little bit in terms of hiring. Where do you see the future for somebody finishing an undergraduate or a master's or MBA degree here now?
Yeah, supply chains aren't going to get easier. Mm. And I always say the harder it gets, the better it is for companies like Ryder, because when it's complex, companies need help. And if you see what's happening geopolitically, the decoupling, if you will, of the world, China, Russia with the US and Europe, that's going to create a significant supply chain continued supply chain disruption for years to come. So the need for people who know how to manage supply chains optimally is going to be very high. So we're very bullish on it. It's the fastest growing part of our company. We're growing organically. We've grown that. I think it's 12% over the last 5 years, a year, plus acquisition. So it's really an area that we see a lot of promise, and we see it continuing. But to be good at it, you're going to have to require more technology. It's going to require, it used to be that, you know, if you can get a driver in a truck or you can get a warehouse, you're fine, but now there's a lot more science that goes into it that you got to continue to work on. So students that are working in supply chain, I think you're going to have good job prospects. I think, you know, industrial engineering, which also is where we bring in employees from to do some of these logistics jobs also, I think will be in high demand.
Yeah. Okay, last tough question. I wasn't planning it here, but it just came to me now. So with the Amazon effect, and now they're getting their own trucks, they're getting their own warehouses, and kind of the concept of the Amazon Web Services. Why would they not compete with you on offering, which probably they do already, but what do you see that effect?
They're frenemies. So they do compete with us, they're also a customer.
Customers, yes, yes.
So we run some warehouses for them. So they are the big gorilla in the market for anything, even for people.
Yes.
When they open up a warehouse, it's like the labor in the market gets sucked up. But I think there's plenty of room in the market for everybody. We all got used to e-commerce, and I still think, you know, Amazon over time is going to continue to be the biggest, but there's going to be a need for an alternative for companies that want to special handling, special delivery, want to do it separately. And that's where we kind of come in and play for that final mile piece. We also do, for example, big and bulky, so furniture.
Okay.
Amazon's not in the furniture delivery business. Yeah. We are, and now that we're in it, I know why they're not in it. It's really hard. So we do furniture delivery for online furniture. By the way, can you all go out and buy some furniture online? Everybody bought furniture online during COVID, and now nobody's buying anything. So we want you to all buy online furniture. So we do that. That's a niche that we're in, that we get a specialty in. We provide technology to for the visibility, and we do that type of delivery.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, allegedly they're more focused on the data that they collect, and that's where they want to get the advantage. Amazon does. But that's one of the challenges. They're saying that by having their own trucks, they can optimize on the data, so they can be much more efficient than UPS or any other.
Right, that's they're competing on final mile, that final mile delivery. Yeah, that's true. No, but remember, what we're running in e-commerce, we're not competing with FedEx.
Yes.
We're actually using FedEx and UPS.
Exactly, yes.
We're running the warehouse. So let me give you an example of, we have a fast fashion customer that sells teenage girls fast fashion. So we run all of their product in the US. That product is sitting in our warehouses. We've got, I think we're up to like 20 warehouses across North America just for e-commerce. So when somebody makes an order online, that product is sitting in our warehouse, and let's say it's in New York, we got a warehouse in New Jersey where that thing's going to get shipped through UPS or FedEx, but we're managing the warehouse and the order management of that.
Absolutely.
That piece of it.
Excellent, yes. All right, talking about you now. So I didn't mention in the introduction, but you had many roles in the company. 31 years, which is not the common theme these days. The average tenure of people is like 4 or 5 years at best. So I was very fascinated with the titles. So in terms of Chief Operating Officer, that's fine. Financial Officer, President of Fleet Management Solutions, Chief Information Officer, and you're not in IT per se, Senior VP of Transportation Management, next page, Supply Chain Solution, VP of Asset Management. And that was my joke before. They actually had to make you CEO because they stopped changing jobs.
No more jobs.
But in all seriousness, talk about like kind of your career transition, how the different roles prepared you for this, ultimate, leadership role, and, how kind of you move through these different, positions across the company.
So I came to Ryder. I was kind of an accidental hire because I studied engineering here. I worked as an engineer at Pratt, Whitney, then at Florida Power and Light, and I had started a company building computers and writing software with some fellow engineers. It was like a United Nations. It was somebody, it was a friend of mine from Malaysia, from Pakistan, and from Hong Kong, and me. And we were building computers, selling them. You could actually put them together and make some money. So we were doing that on the side. And then I realized I didn't know anything about business. I thought, all right, I'm going to go to business school, and I'm going to be an entrepreneur. We're going to start the next Dell. Dell was just starting. He kind of did better than us. So
just slightly.
Slightly. So I go to business school. And I'm going to say, fortunately, between my first and second year, I met my wife. We get married, and she goes up to Philly with me. She's from South Florida. So we're in Philadelphia in Center City. My wife was a social worker for Big Brothers Big Sisters. She gets up there, she's working at the Gap Folding Jeans, so not quite as emotionally fulfilling. So I realized, well, now that I'm married, I probably should, this entrepreneurship probably not going to work. I need to have a job and probably want to have kids, so forget that. I'm going to be a consultant. So I wanted to be a consultant. So I went out and I did all these consulting in it because I was talking, in business school, it's consulting and investment banking. That seems to be the jobs everybody wants. So I wanted to do consulting. So I get a job offer in Chicago, and I come back from the interview, and I told my wife, honey, this is great. We're moving to Chicago. I got this great offer. We're going to, it was a little bit like the firm. It's like a boutique firm, and they were going to buy you a house in their neighborhood where everybody lives. And she did not look happy when I was saying these things. And started crying, and at that point, they were not tears of joy. And she says to me, look, I don't know where you're going, but I'm not going to Chicago. We'd been married 6 months. I figured, what's going on here? She says, I need to go back to South Florida. I hate the cold weather. I miss my family. All right, so what am I going to do? So there's one company that was recruiting from Miami, which was Ryder. And all I knew about Ryder is what everybody knew about Ryder at the time. Yellow trucks. Ryder rents trucks. So I said, geez, I'm an engineer. I spent all this time getting this MBA, and I'm going to go work for this truck company. I mean, what's going on here? So sure enough, I get the offer. I come down. I told her, I'm going to do this for 2 years, and then I got to do something else. My wife says, don't worry about it. You're going to learn to love trucks. So I started working at Ryder. I started in the IT department. And one of the things that I thought really got me hooked at Ryder was I was given responsibility really early in my career. I was put on a project that was supposed to last only a few weeks, and the thing was way behind schedule. And the second day I was there, they fired my boss, and all of a sudden I was responsible for it, and I got like sucked into this project where we were trying to figure out how to optimize all these rental trucks that we had. How many trucks do I need? Where should they be? And you'd think a company like Ryder had been doing it for 80 years, had sophistication around us, and they didn't. They would just get all the general managers, ask them how many trucks they wanted, they'd sum it all up, and they'd order $300 million worth of trucks. So this was a project to help, and I found it to be such an interesting problem. And I got involved in that, and I really kind of got sucked into that, and I thought, all right, this is cool. Then the person I was doing the project for said, well, you're pretty good at this. Why don't you come work in my department and help us do the finance side of it? So I went over and I did that for a while. And then they said, well, why don't you go work in strategy? So I went and did that. And there was no, I wasn't in a rotation program, or no career path was laid out. It was kind of like, hey, we got a problem over here. Can you go do this? And after 2 or 3 of those, I got a bit of a reputation of being able to solve problems. I became a problem solver. And by the way, that's any advice to a student: become a problem solver. Because there's a lot of problem identifiers, but there's not a lot of problem solvers, and you will have plenty of work to do, because there's any company you go to work for. So I got moved around. I had 17 jobs in 20 years. And I got to work in a lot of different areas of Ryder. I got to work in all the businesses. I did customer-facing jobs, which to me were the most engaging. We actually saw what we did. And when I saw what we did, I was like, this is great. It's like better than consulting, because we're working inside these companies, helping them be better. So I got hooked. And I was just fortunate enough to be in the right place at the right time when Greg Swinton, my predecessor, was going to retire. And they told me that I was the candidate to back him up, and I did that. So I never had a plan to be the CEO. I would have been just as happy if I hadn't been. I didn't have a goal when I started, I need to be the CEO. I always tell the story that I remember when I became a manager, and I got a bonus for the first time. This is great. I got a bonus. I got home with my bonus check. This is awesome. And then I became a director. I had a little bit bigger bonus. Oh, this is great. And every phase, I really felt like I appreciated, I enjoyed it, and I was happy. And I've been able to live, thanks to my wife, I've been able to live in the community I grew up in, see my friends, my family. My kids have grown up with their grandparents nearby, so it's been a real blessing. So now I listen to everything my wife says in order to make sure it goes well.
That's right. So,
Tony was the CEO. Tony Burns was the CEO when I started at Ryder. So Tony Burns was the CEO for, I think, 25, 30 years at Ryder. Great guy. Tony took the company through a very difficult phase of building up the conglomerate, because everybody in the 80s wanted to be GE, wanted to be like GE, or GE was becoming GE, and we were all. And then he went through the difficult period of having to dismantle that conglomerate and really focus in on the three businesses that we're in. So he did a lot of heavy lifting during his time at Ryder and really did a great job.
Who made the decision to repaint the trucks from yellow to white and red?
So
Not you, right?
no. So we sold the yellow truck business. That was another funny story. So yellow trucks, we knew Ryder for the yellow trucks. It was 5% of our business at the time. But everybody knew us because it was out there. So we hired a consulting firm to advise us on what to do with the yellow truck business. Because it wasn't making any money. Everybody knew us by it. We were struggling with what to do. So the consulting firm said, we think you should sell the business. Okay. Who do we sell it to? We'll buy it from you. So the consulting firm that advised us to sell the business bought the business from us. And then they flipped it 18 months later for a profit. So that's another whole story. But anyway, that business was sold ultimately to Budget Rent-A-Truck. So they had the name. Okay. The Ryder yellow trucks were around we sold it in 96. I think they rolled around for another until 2003, 2004. And then finally the brand was shut down. So when we did that, we changed the logo for Ryder and went with the white. Okay. And there's a good reason why we go with white, by the way, because when you resell a truck, if it's yellow, it has all the shadows of the decals. If it's white, it still has a little bit sometimes, but not as much.
So you didn't repaint the trucks?
That was
my question. Actually.
We didn't repaint them, no.
All right, okay.
We just ordered new ones.
That was a joke question. All right, so, and by the way, start thinking about questions because there are two more questions here. So kind of what's a major kind of lesson for the students, how they become CEOs, even if they haven't planned? Because we're
don't plan for it first. Yeah.
Okay, because that's why I tell them we have to become CEOs. That's why I'm telling them all this, right? How the MBA students
No
here.
pressure.
No pressure here. We want you to become the CEO, but how they become CEOs? So what's the
Look, I think, and this is just, the problem solving is a big one. You should be a problem solver. The worst, what I hate is somebody just comes to me and says, we have a problem. Okay. What are you going to do about it? So have what you're going to do about it, always ready. I think you want to be a great time manager because time is a precious thing. And you only have so many hours of the day. And if you're not good at managing your time, you're not only you're not going to be the CEO, you're going to be probably unhappy in your personal life because you're always going to feel like you're behind. And I was not a great time manager. Ryder taught me to be a time manager. They saw my big deficiency in it, and they sent me to a one-day training class. Now it's Franklin Covey. Back then it was Franklin. And for the first time, I felt organized. I had my to-do list. I had my calendar. I would put not just the work stuff, but my personal stuff. So as I had kids, I got a game on this day. I know that I can't make today, but I'll be able to make tomorrow's game. And I've always felt like I've been able to balance my work life really well because of it. So if you've ever taken a time management class, even if it's a one day, or take it and be really good at that. I think the other thing is always to treat people with respect because careers are long. And you're going to run into people at different levels in your career, and people remember if you don't treat them right. And I think treating people with respect in the business world is in your personal life, it's probably a good idea too, but in the business world, it's really important too. We have companies that we've been doing business with for 60 years. So a lot of our relationships last for decades. They outlast even the employees. It's like a marriage. If they lose trust in you're done. So treating people with respect and being trustworthy, I think, is really important. And then the last thing is, obviously in my career, don't be afraid to try something different, to step outside your comfort zone and do different things. If you're a problem solver, there's a lot of problems in a lot of different areas of a company. And if you're willing to try something new, you're going to have a lot of opportunities to do different things. And that, if you stay within a company, it makes you more valuable because like if I were to have left Ryder somewhere, I probably, what do you do? Well, I don't do anything. I do different things. Versus I'm a finance person, or I'm a business person, or so. By the way, I should recognize Amy Fetterman, who's our Vice President of Communications. And Marguerite is our environmental expert at Ryder. So whenever a customer has any question about any environmental law in California, which they have many, Massachusetts, whatever, we card in Marguerite, and she wows people with her infinite knowledge and does a great job. So thank you for being here. She's a proud alum too, right?
Yeah, double.
Double alum.
Okay.
Yes. And Amy's a proud alum also, and a member of the crew when she was here, right?
Wonderful.
We do have quite a few
All right.
alums at Ryder. We got a good share of them.
And we need to work even harder.
We need
on
more.
that, yes.
Yeah.
MBAs across the board, supply chain. So, all right. So you were actually first year national championship in football, and last year. Okay. All right. So favorite memory in UM?
There's so many.
Okay.
So many.
We have time.
First game I ever went to, so I get to UM. I'd never seen a college football game in my life. First game was against Florida, 1983. Drove from Miami to Gainesville with my friends. A lot of stupid things went on in that drive, but we made it there. We actually forgot where we had parked the car and couldn't find the car until the next day. But anyway, we go to the game, we lose, 28-3. All right, well, this college football thing's not too good. The good news is we won every game after that and won the national championship. So my favorite first memory was that first national championship. I didn't go to the game. I didn't have tickets. I watched it on TV, and then I came here to celebrate it at Pratt and had a great time. Had a great time there. I was at the Doug Flutie Hail Mary pass. Not my favorite, but it's a traumatic memory. We spent a lot of time. I've got a friend here. Angel's back there somewhere. We spent a lot of time. He's got a lot of terrible stories that he would not share with anybody. But you were at the game with me, yeah. So we had a group of friends at S100 over in the, what's that building there? It was an area of that right near the parking lot where we would all gather in the morning, and we'd all get together, and it was always like a million stories about what had happened. The Ratskeller was really, Thursday nights you go to the library and you see how long you can stay at the library without going to the Ratskeller. But really had a wonderful time here. I enjoyed my time at UM, became a crazy football fan just from seeing all the great players that played and everything that went on at the Orange Bowl. But really just had a wonderful experience.
Okay. All right. So we have a few more minutes. So any questions? Yes, sir. Oh, yes. Please wait for Blanca for the microphone so we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Alex Moreira. I am an alum from the school. And congratulations on your career, by the way. Very interesting story. And I work with sustainability and climate. And you are your client's Scope 3 emissions. I'm just wondering how much are your clients coming to you to ask for help in reducing their Scope 3 emissions?
Margarita?
Come here.
Well, no, let me tell you kind of, they should give you the real answer.
Yeah,
So-
and the sequel to that is, do you expect anything to change given the elections that we just had in terms of the overall direction? You are, as logistics, transportation, so on and so forth, you are in a place that is very crucial to the effort of decarbonizing.
Mm-hmm. So Scope 3 emissions for us is all the emissions of all of our customers' trucks and warehouses and all that. So we have a significant focus and effort on that across the company, not just for our customers, but for ourselves. How much do our customers come to us? The big customers come to us. General Motors. She can give you the list of all the people that call HP. So all the big corporations want to come to us with, how do you help me reduce, and how do you measure? We measure, we have a sustainability report, I don't know if you've seen it. We measure a lot of different emissions across different areas. The big one, though, that everybody asks about is electric trucks. When are you going to go with electric trucks? So we have been testing electric trucks. We have had grants for electric trucks. We've tried just about every one of them. The problem with electric trucks is they're just very expensive. Not only is the truck expensive, the whole cost of transport is expensive. We have been offering, we have a group that just focuses on leasing and selling electric trucks. And in, how many years we've been at it now? We've been at this for like a couple of years, year or two. We've had a very limited success. And it's because customers say, I want a fleet of electric trucks. Okay, here's the price, and here's the payload, and here's the range limitations. Oh, I can't do that. Okay, let's go to the next one. So what we did is we did a total cost of transport study that I presented at ACT, the conference in Nevada on advanced clean trucks. And what it said was, this is just taking a fleet of trucks that we operate and say, if I had to change that from diesel to electric, what is the cost differential? The good news is on light duty vans, like the Amazon vans, it's pretty close. It's like another 5% cost total. So that's reasonable. And that's the ones that we've been able to lease have been primarily light duty vans. You get to a medium duty truck. So it's a little bit bigger truck. Now you're talking about a 25 to 30% premium to your total transportation cost. That's driver time and all that. You get to a heavy duty truck and it's double. So it costs me twice as much to move the same product from point A to point B. No one will pay that because they'll be out of business. So what we've been trying to do is work with the OEMs to figure out how do we get that cost curve down. And it isn't just if I can build more, it's going to be cheaper. They're telling me that it's the technology. They got to get the battery technology down. So right now, we don't see a path for those heavy duty trucks yet, other than I would tell you Tesla. Tesla does have a model that we've piloted, 500-mile range and the same payload as a diesel truck. If they can get that thing in production for the price that they're talking about, that starts to get a lot closer. So we're waiting because we think Ryder would be in a perfect position. I can rent those trucks to our customers, let them try them out. I can lease them to them. There's going to be a long transitionary period. You're going to have some diesel, some electric. Who better to manage for us that than Ryder? So, we're focused on trying to make it economically viable. Because the day that it's economically viable, you won't have to have a lot of. California is trying to push it through legal mandates, and it's tough, man. Customers just struggle because they can't make the economics work unless they raise the price of everything. So that's the challenge right now. But to get back to your question on how many of our customers, the big customers are. The big customers do come to us regularly about emissions reduction and what we can do, and obviously keep the price down. Can't raise my price, but what can you do to reduce my emissions?
Do you expect hydrogen to play a role?
So hydrogen is one of the issue with hydrogen is just the fuel, the infrastructure for hydrogen. I think it's going to be all of the above over time. You're going to need, renewable diesel is a great one for us. Renewable natural gas, hydrogen in some areas, and there will be battery technology that'll also be. So it's going to be I think it's going to be a long, multi-decade transition, and there's going to be a long periods where you'll have different technologies, and that's where we are trying to. Our customers are looking to us, saying, "What do I buy, and when do I do it?" And that's kind of why Margarita and her team look at all these things. Margarita, I'm sure I missed some stuff. So is there anything else that?
No. The only thing that I think is missing is you talked a lot about optimization and the value that we bring in making transportation networks more efficient, and that's kind of, for me, the foundation of all of it, right? Technology just expands that optimization even further, but there's a lot that we're doing day-to-day with the technology that we have today that's reducing emissions because we're reducing empty miles. We're looking at how do you run all the goods across our customer base more efficiently. So.
Yeah, the nature of our business reduces emissions because we try to do things more efficiently. So yeah, I think that's why we have Margarita.
Thank you.
Hi, inspiring story. I'm an MBA student, so Ryder got out of a lot of businesses, but then what's the vision for the coming years? Where do you see your company moving? Are there any new businesses you are looking into that you want to get into? What's the future looking like?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. Well, first of all, not only were we in a lot of business, we were also global. So we were in Latin America, we were in South America, we were in Europe, we were in China, we were in Singapore, we were in the UK. And we didn't make money in any of those places. So we were globally, but not really, didn't have viable business. So over the last 20 years, we've exited a lot of those businesses and really narrowed our focus to North America, US, Mexico, Canada. And we said, we want to be great providers in North America. The business, if you think about what we do, is the outsourcing of all these services. In most of our businesses, less than 25% of the market's outsourced. So if I can convince another company to let me run their fleets or run their supply chains, there's plenty of market. So our goal is to remain focused on that supply chain, transportation outsourcing, and then just continue to find companies that provide additional services. So like e-commerce was a service that we didn't have. We did an acquisition there. We did an acquisition of a technology company that we needed to buy. We didn't have a multi-client operation for consumer packaged goods, so for food. So we bought a company that does that. So we're in there trying to find what else can I sell a customer that's in the wheelhouse of what we do. We're not looking to, I'm not gonna compete with Texas Instruments. I'm not gonna be in the semiconductor business. I want to stay focused to my core and the core markets that we serve, and just continue to bring more services to them. And we think with that we could grow mid to high single digits for a long time.
Any question here? Oh, okay.
Thank you. Hi, Bradley Bucas, a Global Executive MBA student here at the university. Love being on campus. You can deliver furniture to our house as long as you want to put it together. That's
We do that. We do that too. Yeah.
Given that we're business school and you mentioned you have a venture fund, is there anything specific in the Miami area that you're looking at, investments or any interesting investments that or areas of investment that you're looking at that the venture fund is targeting? So
as you might imagine, we're focused on transportation logistics. So we're looking at businesses that are in that we look at and we say, can our customer benefit from this new service? So an example we were talking about earlier is we've got a company that we invested in called Remora. And back to sustainability, they created, these are graduates of the University of Michigan who created a carbon capture for trucks. So you think about those big tractor trailers, this unit that goes on the back of that tractor trailer that captures the CO2 coming out of the exhaust. Like, what a great idea. If you can do that, I don't need electric trucks. I just capture it and then recycle or sell the CO2. Doesn't work yet. But anyway, we invested in that. It's almost there, but it's been almost there for a while. We've invested in companies that optimize the operations inside of a warehouse. So we've invested right now, we've invested, I think, in like 10, 11 different companies, all in that transportation and logistics outsourcing type business. We're not living, Miami to be great because you can go, our guy is here who runs that for us. But we really look across the whole U.S.
Question here?
So on the logistics side, your operations in warehousing, do you see potential for more automation? And because along with AI comes robotics, right? So they're going to be advancing together.
So, we do for the last 12 years, we've been doing a customer advisory board. We take some of our biggest customers, we bring them together for a couple days, and we find out what's bugging them, what are the things that we might be able to help them with. And you think about it's big names that are in those meetings. And it's interesting, every year is something different. The first time we ever did it, it was all about diesel prices were really high. Then it was, I can't find any labor. And then it's environmental regulations. It was always something. This year, it was automation. And, if you're running a warehouse like Amazon where it's a lot of different SKUs and different pieces and you got to put them in one box, automation is really good. It's very good at handling. But if you're moving a pallet of Gatorade from one side of the warehouse to the other, it's kind of somebody in a lift truck's going to do it. There's not a lot of value until now. there's actually technology now and automation that has gotten the price points come down, labor costs have come up, and now we're finding that automation we now have automation in about 35% of our warehouses, and that number's growing. So we're even looking at, we got a company we're looking at that's working with humanoids. So it's kind of creepy, but it's robots that actually will do the work in a warehouse that a person would do. That's developing. So yeah, that's going to be an exciting part of the future. When we talk about technology, that's going to be another piece that we'll be working on.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, okay, 2 more questions. So.
Mr. Sanchez, my name is Elias. I am a student here at the Miami Herbert Business School from Kazakhstan. So my question is pretty simple. You're living like very fast because in an industry like this. So what is your daily routine look like? Like what daily advices could you give us to the students, like to manage time better, how to spend time? You know?
Well, take that Franklin course, Franklin Covey, to manage your time. But it is as you might imagine, you gotta find ways to balance the stuff you need to get done at home and the stuff you need to do at work. I wake up and I always try to work out a little bit. Doesn't look that way, but I do. I try to work out. I've been trying to do it forever. Just not because I need to be in great shape, but really because for me mentally it helps. So I wake up, I work out, and then I'm going to get on an airplane because I got to go somewhere. I'm going to go to the office here. And like I tell people, my kids used to ask me, "What do you do?" I could tell them, I'm doing this, I'm doing that for work. Now what I tell people is I don't work, I talk about work. I go into meetings and I talk about what hopefully somebody's doing and what hopefully they will do. So I spend a lot of time in meetings, which, you'll love them. It's great. You'll have a great time. It's a lot of fun. But a lot of my job is really about making sure we get the right people on the team, having the right leadership team. And I've been very blessed. I have a great team. And not only are they really good at what they do, but they work well together. And if you can get that makes your life a lot easier. So as you start your career, you're going to become that problem solver that solves problems. Eventually, they're going to give you a team to solve more problems. And then your job becomes, how do I motivate this? How do I get the right people on the team? And then once I have the right people on the team, how do I motivate them to do what we need to get done? And it's very rewarding if you can get that done. Another thing I learned is you can't fix people. If there's somebody on your team that's not working, set them free. Let them go find something else they could be good at. Early in my career, I tried to fix a lot of people, and I'm 0 for like 1,000. Didn't work. They just probably were they're doing the wrong job. They need to be doing something else. But once you get the right people, it's like magic, man. Everything just works so much. Life is a lot easier for everybody. So, I think that's an important part of when you get into a leadership role of what to do.
Last question.
Hello, I'm also a senior undergraduate student here. And you made it clear that your wife helps you make a lot of those essential decisions throughout your career. But my question, especially at your time at Ryder, was there a professional mentor or mentor in general that was really useful to you, and kind of what was his role throughout all that? So
I always joke that I had tormentors, not mentors, but there was numerous. But if I had to name one, there was a gentleman named Tony Tegnelia, who, if you live in South Florida, you might know who he is. He was the controller at Ryder when I got there. And he was, I'll describe him, kind of like a Pat Riley type guy. Always dressed really nice, extremely intense. And Tony loved Ryder, like a crazy person. Just lived and breathed the company. And I got a chance to work with him for a long time, and it was contagious. You couldn't be around him and not get sucked into wanting Ryder to be better and wanting to be a part of making it better. So I think he was probably my greatest mentor because he really drove that passion to want to make this company better. And that helped me in my career. And he also helped me in my career for a long time. So He's somebody that lives here in South Florida who's gone on. He retired and then he went on to do other things, but really value him a lot. But a lot of people along the way. HR, head of HR at Ryder was somebody who really, Greg Green, who helped me a lot. And we've had a lot of folks who, not through an official mentorship program, just people you work with who you realize you can learn from. And you learn from watching them. You know, they'll tell you things, but you learn more, just like as a parent, I think kids learn by watching their parents. You learn by watching people at work, and you realize, I want to be like this person, I don't want to be like that person, and then you try to emulate. And I think as you start working in wherever you go, you'll be fortunate to find people like that.
So last question before we go into the reception. So how do we get more companies to headquarter here, besides Ryder and a few others? Because that's a big thing.
It's a lot easier now. You know, I was on there's a group here in Miami called the Beacon Council.
Yeah.
So the Beacon Council's job is to attract companies to Miami. I was at the Beacon Council 25 years ago. It's the hardest job in the world. Nobody wanted to come to Miami. Oh, you know, crime. I can't go down there. I'm going to get shot. World, my kid's going to go to school. Now, fast forward post-COVID, there's still some of those questions. Nobody's getting shot, hopefully, but schools and things like that are still, but it is much easier now. So it's a matter of finding the right companies that want to, you know, make Miami a place for them. We got a lot of work to do still as a city. I'm involved with a group here that's trying to address some of those issues around traffic, you know, K through 12 education, making sure there's enough schools for everybody that comes out, housing, affordability of housing. So we have another whole set of problems now in Miami than we had before COVID. But clearly there's still an opportunity to get more companies to come down here. Obviously, getting Ken Griffin to move Citadel down here is it's a monster win for Miami. So we need Ken to call some friends and keep bringing people down here.
And we're here to help you and help all the companies from education perspective. So that's something with our talent we create from our offering. So always happy to see how.
And obviously I'm very passionate about UM and the opportunities there, because I think this moment that we have here is a chance for my University of Miami to become you know, a big player in this. And that's making sure that we're attracting the right students, and then we can attract the students to stay in South Florida, not go off to somewhere else. And I think if we can offer those opportunities, it'll be good for everybody.
Absolutely. And we're working on that, and also on the National Football Championship that we held.
That's the most important thing.
That's the most important. On that positive note, I'd like to thank you very much for coming. That was a wonderful conversation. Thank you very much. And we have a reception downstairs. That's where we tried to get the scenic route earlier. That's again. So
thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Thank you very much. Thank you.